ชื่อพีระพิงกางนะ
My name is Pirapinkang. I'm 47 years old, from Korat, northeast Thailand.
ประมาณสัก
I came to Bangkok about 20 years ago to seek my fortunes as a Muay Thai fighter.
แท็กซี่นี่มาขับประมาณสัก
15 years ago, I got too old to fight and became a taxi driver. I have 2 children. My son is a teacher. My daughter is 16 and she's autistic. My wife sells noodles. Until recent years, the financial situation at home was difficult. I used to rent an old taxi for less than $400 a month. After deducting expenses, I earned about $9 a day. Sometimes passengers wouldn't take my taxi because it was so old. Thaksin's government came up with a policy to help taxi drivers like me. Under this scheme, I have been paying a monthly installment of about $500 for the past 14 months for my brand new taxi. I will own it after another 3 years. Passengers prefer new taxis, so my earnings went up by 3 times. There are more than 1,000 of us on this scheme. Most of my expenses go towards taking care of my daughter, who needs treatment. We also give her money to buy snacks. My mother used to take care of her, but she's too old now. Last year, my son graduated and started teaching, so things got better. The current political situation is so unstable. It has affected taxi drivers because there are fewer foreign visitors. Sometimes my daily profit is half. I'm worried, very worried. After the election, I don't know if the scheme by the Thaksin government will collapse and we have to return the taxis. And even if we don't have to, many of us are starting to find it harder to pay the monthly installment. I pray for things to stabilize in Thailand so the economy can pick up. Hopefully, my son can get a master's degree so he will earn more money for the family. And maybe one day, my daughter will also be able to take care of herself. For myself, if I have to return the taxi, I will go back to Muay Thai as a trainer.
And once again, I'm joined by Jakrapop Penkaya, a former Thai government spokesman, Kashik Piromya, an advisor to the Democrat Party, and Giles Ungpakorn, who's a political scientist at Chulalongkorn University in Bangkok, and he joins us from there. We also invited the military government to come and speak on this program, but they declined to put up a spokesman. Thank you for staying with us. Giles, let me come back to you. You're talking in terms of a democratic solution to Thailand's problems. But the democratic solution that seems to be the only one on the table right now is for the population to rise up against the government. Now, how much of a difference is it if a government is overthrown by a mass movement of ordinary people or overthrown by the military, if at the end of the day the reason for the overthrow is the same?
Well, it's totally different. A mass movement actually reflects mass support throughout the countryside. Now, the fact is that those that staged the military coup have no respect for democracy, and this includes the Democrat Party as well. This is, of course, not to say that Thai Rak Thai are respectful of democracy either, but they actually used democracy.
But you're accusing all sides of not having any real answers.
When you look at the accusation, first of all, the accusation that it is wrong to dissolve Parliament when there's an economic crisis is absolutely ludicrous. That's a normal standard throughout the world to put it to the electorate which government they actually want. Now, people who support the coup accuse the poor of being stupid, not having information, and not voting freely according to what they actually want. It's quite clear that the poor supported Thai Rak Thai because of their policies, and there are anthropological studies to back this up.
Jakrapop, yes. Everything that Giles has said has been effectively a personal criticism from a personal perspective. But at the end of the day, can't we look at the Thai situation as being an evolution of politics within a country that has never really had much of a grounding in democratic politics in the mold that Giles seems to be proposing?
Clearly, the Thai majority government that was elected twice has been an evolution of Thai political system. It's the best one in years, in decades.
Certainly, but that doesn't mean
it means the regress now.
It doesn't mean that the Thai was the ultimate and perfect solution.
Oh, no. Nothing is perfect in democracy. That's why you have democracy. You have different ideas around the table, and then you select the best one at the time. And Thai was that.
Krashik, how do you respond to these accusations that the Democrat Party
the democratic parliamentary system of Thailand was being hijacked and neutralized by Thaksin and his people for the past 5 years. And then there was an impasse on the Thai political scene because there was no play inside the parliament. It was nullified, ignored. So there was the mass movement. And then, so there was an impasse. There was no end to the solution except maybe the bloodshed. Okay. And I think the military intervened because they thought that the mass rally between the two sides, one opposing Thaksin and the other one for, would lead to bloodshed. So it was a Thai solution to the political impasse, either a mass movement and lead to the bloodshed eventually, or a sort of military intervention. So there was only two ways out.
There are 2 points there, Jack.
Yes.
The suggestion that Thaksin was hijacking the entire national political framework and mechanism, you disagree with that. Do you disagree that there were some serious problems with Thaksin's government and the way he was operating?
If there are, they have to be resolved by democratic means. In other words, if Thaksin is accused or alleged of anything, he has to be on the court of democracy to be judged.
Thaksin was judged in 2001 for charges relating to all sorts of business dealings in which his servants were being used as
he went
fronts.
through all that.
Yes, he went through all that.
Yes.
And he was found innocent under a court which was under his own control. Was that constitutional?
No. That's not correct. The court was not under his control then or now or any time. You can see the fact that Thaksin government became a government in effect, and he was hit by that charge.
Let me stop you there.
So
Giles,
he didn't appoint any of those judges on the court.
The 2001 problems that Thaksin went through and was cleared of, how did you consider that in democratic framework?
Well, it's absolutely clear that Thaksin and his family have consistently tried to avoid paying tax, and that is unjust. Whether it's illegal or not is a mere detail of the matter of the law. Now, the problem is that the majority of the electorate reckon that most politicians try to avoid paying tax and are corrupt to some extent, and therefore were prepared to accept Thaksin. But what is much more worrying now is the threat of violence. The threat of violence was started by the coup d'etat. Putting tanks and armed soldiers on the street is a threat of violence.
Hold on just a second, Giles, because as Krashik just pointed out, the coup d'etat in many ways headed off the threat of violence. Wouldn't there have been much more violence if it had been a grassroots?
There is no evidence. Let's make it quite clear, because violence and bloodshed in Thai society has always come from the military. It is the military that shot people in 1973. It's the military that shot people in 1992. It's the Thaksin government ordering the military to crack down in the south that resulted in the Grusat and the Dak Bai massacres. So the threat of violence does not come from mass demonstrations.
The onus then really must now lie with the Democratic Party, surely, because you must now prove that there is a future for a democratic system in Thailand without all the complications that our other two guests have brought up here, which are fairly serious complications.
Yes, before answering that, I must dispute Kunjai's. You cannot mix the military government with the Democratic Party. I think that's hitting under the belt. But leave that aside.
But you will be a beneficiary from the military setup
But we were the only party or several of the opposite party that were opposing Thaksin all along in the parliament, accusing him of a lot of abuses of power. But Thaksin never came to parliament.
Welcomed the coup.
I don't think so.
So your response to the comments made by Jakrapop and Giles about the need for a future government to be set up by a democratic process and not a process that's been created by a constitutional dictatorship.
But I don't think that is a constitutional dictatorship. I think many people have a chance now to voice their...
But the constitution that's been put together has been put together under the auspices of a military government, not by any democratic process.
See, we did not make the coup d'etat. See, but there is a sort of a fait accompli.
Okay.
And then there is promises to have the constitution and to have the elections. So let's go through the process. And then once we have the newly elected government, we can come back and change the constitution
or
to undo the whole thing again.
How could we go through an illegal process? There was a coup there, and a coup couldn't be akin to anything.
Well, equally, but we can't roll that back. So what to you is the next way forward? I mean, what you seem to be suggesting is the only way to negate the coup is to have a popular mass revolution.
Right. The CNS has to go. There's no place for them, or any military junta in Thailand anymore, and they have to be punished and penalized for that.
And there, we will have to leave it, unfortunately. We've run right out of time.
Okay. All right.
Thank you all very much
very
indeed for being with us. My thanks to my panel today, Jakrapop Pankaya, Kashit Piromya and Giles Ongpokorn, and from all of us here at 101 East, it's goodbye until next time.